My name is Harald Schubert. I'm the lead architect of the BPM unit here at SAP, and I'm excited to have you join my talk today on leveraging workflow and rules for live processes with SAP Cloud Platform. And everything we show is for informational purposes and may be changed by SAP at any time. What we'll talk about today is, first of all, intelligent business process management. That's a new solution offering that we are launching here at TechEd in Las Vegas. I'll introduce you to the idea behind it, what it is, why you need it, how it relates to the overall SAP Cloud Platform strategy, what the building blocks are, and of course workflow and rules. That's what you're here for. They are part of it. And then we'll actually spend a large part of the session on an end-to-end demo where I want to show you how all these pieces connect to each other. And then we close with a customer story and some key takeaways. And hopefully we have some time for Q&A also. Okay, so intelligent business process management. Let's quickly revisit what we've been doing all the while in the area of BPM. Actually, it dates back to 1996 when we first released SAP Business Workflow for ERP at that time. And that was like the first product we had in that domain, right, for automating business processes via workflow technology. Then in 2001, we released the Universal Worklist, which some of you might still be using, which was a product to basically connect different systems into a single task feed that you can show then in one task UI to your users. Then in the early 2000s, we added new BPM products on top of XI at that point, CC-BPM, cross-component BPM. And then 2007 onwards till 2011, we built yet another set of BPM engines on NetWeaver Java. So we had SAP Business Process Management, SAP Business Rules Management, which was an acquisition of a startup at that time. And that was later merged with PI and B2B into what is known today as process orchestration, which is still in wide use today, obviously. And then after that, in 2014, we built a completely different product, not so much for process automation, but for getting process visibility, getting insights into your operational processes. That was called Operational Process Intelligence, was a HANA-based solution. And only in 2017, we started actually bringing our services, our offerings into the cloud. We launched the first version of Cloud Platform Workflow and Cloud Platform Business Rules on Neo at that time. And those are meanwhile available on Cloud Foundry. In 2018, we launched the first alpha version of SAP Cloud Platform Process Visibility, which was a similar capability like Operational Process Intelligence, but this time as a cloud offering, again to get process transparency on your operational processes. And this year, we're complementing this with a fourth service that is coming, the inbox service. And we are integrating with conversational AI and integrating with Qualtrics. So these are things that we are now working on in the near future. So all in all, with all these products and things that we've done, we have roughly 20,000 customers. So you might ask the question, isn't business process management as a topic kind of done, right? Aren't we through this? And the clear answer to this from our perspective is definitely no. That's because if you look into companies and look at how business processes are run today, you will still find that many of the processes are still complex, right? They involve a lot of manual work. They are still error-prone and inefficient. So that's just a fact. And in the competitive environment that we're in, right, where companies need to constantly improve and outpace their competition, for example, by inventing new, highly digitalized business models, or by, for example, offering superior customer service, this problem just becomes more and more pressing. So process automation is still key. That's still something you want to do. You want to standardize your processes, and with that, lower the costs, increase the productivity of your workforce, free them from all these repetitive tasks so they can actually work on the value-adding activities in the company, and with that, allow you to get back, this business agility that you require to differentiate yourselves from the competition. And this is what SAP Intelligent Business Process Management is there for. That's what it helps you with. So we are announcing general availability of SAP Intelligent Business Process Management, which is a family of services running on Cloud Platform to increase or improve your business process productivity, basically by giving you three things. First of all, means to intelligently automate your processes through workflows, decisions, and tasks. Second, the possibility to get process intelligence and insight to action. And third, it helps you improve your business process experience and flexibility. With this, you want to basically be able to, first of all, discover SAP processes, standard processes, configure them to your need, extend them where needed, and then run everything together on Cloud Platform, get transparency on your processes, get these insights that you need, and then finally optimize them by combining the operational insights that you get out of our products together with experience management with the sentiment data that you get through Qualtrics, basically. And doing this easily and with fast time to value allows you really to implement what we call live processes. So SAP Intelligent Business Process Management is not just a family of services, it's also a domain within SAP Cloud Platform, which is an integral part of the now launched Business Technology Platform. You still have classic domains like integration and extensions, and you have UX for everything related to Portal or the upcoming business workplace. And intelligent business processes is yet another domain, right? So these domains, they complement each other, and you can use them together to achieve your goals. Now let's look into what the key building blocks are for intelligent business process management. And this is our capability view that you see here, our pie chart. And it's first of all important to understand that you don't have to do all of this at once, right? You can really start with one of the slices here, something that is most important for you. So for me, for example, intelligent automation would be something that I would probably start with, but for you it might be completely different. You might have an urgent need to get transparency on an already running business process that you have in your company. So process visibility might be what is of interest to you, or maybe you have an urgent need to really improve the productivity of your workflows by combining the inboxes into a coherent task feed that you can then present at a central place. So this is totally up to you. So what we'll do now basically is go through the individual capabilities, and then in the demo this will become a lot clearer. Let's start with workflow and RPA. So first of all, you want to automate your processes, right? There's two ways how you can do it. First of all, you can either use SAP Cloud Platform Workflow. You use this if you want to automate structured business processes, like for example an approval, where maybe a user needs to first of all key in some data, then maybe another person needs to sign it off, then maybe you want to call out into a system to maybe create an order, and then maybe you want to wait for some events to come in before you can proceed. So that's a bread and butter use case for workflow technology. And then on the other hand, you have SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation, which you can use to automate these unstructured tasks where people would be going to maybe a spreadsheet, key in some data, go to some other screen, do something there. So this is repetitive work that you want to get rid of by implementing a bot, which does all this work automatically for you. And these two products, they go hand in hand. You can actually, there is also a hands-on session that we are, where we're showing this. You can call IRPA from workflow and the other way around. And there's different use cases where you can use these products. And an interesting fact definitely also is that IRPA actually uses Cloud Platform Workflow as the underlying bot runtime. So these products are really tightly integrated. Decision management is the next thing, which you want to use via Cloud Platform Business Rules to automate your decisioning tasks, doing this without programming, right? So you want to have an environment where you can author your rules in a declarative way, and then have the possibility to deploy to the target runtime for execution, right? We have a very differentiating feature which allows you to choose the actual rules engine where you want to deploy your rules to. So you can either choose to run, for example, on SAP Cloud Platform Business Rules itself. On Cloud Platform, we have a rules engine that you can use, or you might choose to deploy to BRF Plus in S4HANA, or maybe even push it down into the HANA database itself. So these are different options that you have, and that's what decision management is for. Next up, we have inbox. So we all know the problem of having to work off of multiple inboxes, right? You have one inbox in S4, another one in SuccessFactors, basically one in every cloud LOB solution that SAP offers. And I'm not even counting your development, things that you might have developed yourself, or third-party solutions that you introduced in your landscape. So we're finally building a cloud service through which you can basically federate tasks from all these different systems and combine them into a single task feed, which you can then plug into the inbox of choice that you want to use. We are providing a new Fiori 3-based application, which you can use. My Task is what it's going to be called, and that you can then plug into a central launchpad or into any other environment if you use a SharePoint. Maybe that's something you want to go for, or maybe you want to build your own mobile experience, right? So you could, for example, use the Fiori SDK for iOS or Android and build your completely custom mobile application, mobile inbox, which then uses the public APIs that come with our service. And then fourth, we have process visibility, which is a solution, a service that we're offering now for getting real-time insights into your operational business processes. It's a solution aimed at key users. It's not a technical monitoring tool or anything like that. It's for business process responsibles or process owners who want to see how the performance of processes is. It has a web-based authoring environment aimed at this target group, so you can easily define visibility scenarios on your own. And then by basically doing so, you get an out-of-the-box dashboard that you can give to your end users so they can get these insights. And these four services together are basically the core of what SAP Intelligent Business Process Management is about. It's important to see that these services work together without you having to do any manual plumbing, right? So if you use only one service, then obviously you don't have the issue. But if you have more than one, let's say 2 or 3, through a plug-and-play mechanism that we are building, basically these services know about each other and you can just use them together. So for example, if you have process visibility in workflow, you use visibility and you can directly in the tooling discover the workflows that are deployed on your system and get transparency on them, right? It's really out-of-the-box integrated. Next up, something that we're working on is integration with conversational AI. So you get this possibility of doing natural language processing, so basically interface with our services through a chatbot in written form or in speech, and find out, for example, what work you have to do, or maybe figure out if there is any process instances that require your attention. These are capabilities that you will get this way. And with that, you might actually now start building new process-centric applications or extensions. And if you want to do this on the greenfield, that's probably all you require. But typically in the intelligent enterprise, there will be a scenario that you do this in, right? So maybe you do something in procure to pay or in hire to retire. So there is a business context in which you operate. And that's why we're also working on the content story. So we want to make it possible for you to, first of all, discover processes that are offered by SAP and then configure them in a non-technical way. And for this, we're building new applications, manage workflows and manage decisions, which allow business users to do exactly that, configure processes and decisions on an abstract level without going into the nitty-gritty details of everything and in a constrained way. So as a business user, you can focus on the actual business aspects of the configuration, and the tool basically guides you in making sure that you don't misconfigure anything. And from there, if you then need to do extension development, if the standard is not enough and you want to build an extension, we also provide you with recipes that can help you kickstart the development of an extension. Okay? So that's the overall picture, the big picture of SAP Intelligent Business Process Management. And with that, let's go into the demo. Okay, here I am in our process flexibility cockpit, which is like the central entry point into SAP Intelligent Business Process Management. I can see here there is the hire to retire scenario and a concrete process that we'll be looking at onboarding, right? So within hire to retire, that's kind of the last thing you want to do. You want to get the employee onboarded into your enterprise, and there is numerous activities that are being taken here, and this is something that we now want to look at from the perspective of SAP Intelligent Business Process Management. And the different tiles that you see here, they loosely relate to the capabilities that we were just talking about. And the first thing that I want to do basically is to configure the onboarding process. So I go here, I can see there is a list of process variants. So the idea is that you, if I click here, I've already opened this, you are brought into an environment which gives you a graphical representation of the business process, where you can see on a business level what the steps are that you have currently configured in your variant of the onboarding process. And this is not, this is based on the understanding of a process template, which is shipped by SAP or a partner maybe. And this process template basically contains the list of steps that you can choose from. Some of these steps will be mandatory, right? Certain things always need to be done. Other steps are maybe optional. And you can configure the process as a key user, as a non-technician, to your liking. And for example, something that you might want to do here in this particular onboarding process variant is say, I'm not interested in custom data collection. So that's something that is not needed for my company, but instead maybe I want to do some additional data validation. And what you can see here is that the tool is actually guiding you where exactly you can introduce the step, right? It's not a free-form modeling environment. So if this was a developer tool, you could probably do whatever you want. And then if you try to activate this, you get an error and a detailed list of the things that you did wrongly. In this environment, since it's really for end users, we want to make sure that everything you configure and goes from one valid process to another valid process, right? So the tool tells me, actually, you can introduce the data validation only as the first step in the process. And then basically, I can save and activate this. And with this, I basically go back. And let's have a look at the other functions that we see here. Decisions we will look at shortly. Teams and functions is really interesting. So if you build processes or automate them through workflow technology, then a frequent task or bread and butter task that you need to care about is doing user assignment. So if there is user tasks, you need to identify who are the people who need to work on that particular task. And the most simple way you can think of it is to basically have a list of user IDs, or maybe you have a group, an identity provider that you can relate to. But actually, we want to take this a step further, and this is similar to responsibility management in S4, by basically giving you possibilities to define something like a team, for example, which is maybe for the duration of a project, a virtual organization that you want to assign to one or more tasks. That might be one thing you do, like for example, the HR experts here. Or maybe you have a more dynamic need where you want to figure out, given an employee, who is the line manager, or similarly, given a cost center, who is the cost center owner. So this is something that we're building together with colleagues from responsibility management. There is a new service coming on Cloud Platform which offers this functionality, and we'll integrate it into SAP Intelligent Business Process Management. So with that, we can assume we have a running process. We configured it, it's operated and executed on SAP Intelligent Business Process Management in our runtimes. And now I want to get visibility on the process. So what I do is to go here into my dashboard configuration. And what I'm presented with is an authoring environment, again, for non-technicians. This is for key users to use. And the first thing you want to do is basically select the workflow that you are interested in, that you want to get visibility on. And as a default way of integrating with Cloud Platform, I can just go here and get a list of all the workflows that are available in the system. I pick one, and then as a result of that, I basically, the product or the service will introspect the metadata of the workflow and gather all the relevant information that you can use to define the visibility scenario. And one important aspect, for example, is what are the events that are being fired by the workflow engine, right? So we are working on the understanding that there is a constant stream of events that are being emitted by the workflow engine, and those events we can then consume here and build our concepts on top. So here we can see there is these different event types, like body assigned or equipment requested, workplace identified. These are things that I don't need to key in. This is basically discovered by the authoring environment. And in addition to that, I can also have business data that is relevant for this particular scenario. So I want to see, for example, who is the employee that is being onboarded, what's his name, who's the hiring manager, what location will he be working in, and so forth. And then, having this as the baseline, I can basically define something like a phase model, which is an abstract or a simplification of the overall process. So it's just like a value chain you could think of. And the way I do it is basically by saying if a certain event occurs, then this signifies the start of a phase, and if another event occurs, this signifies the end of this phase. In addition to that, I can define my own status values for a process, right? So this is, again, something that is meaningful to the business. You want to say if a certain event is reached, this signifies a certain business status for my scenario, and I can basically categorize it into whether it's a critical status that would be reached at that point, or whether it's something that is at risk, or whether it's on track. These are tools that you can use to basically get transparency on your processes. And then as the last thing, you want to define your own measures and performance indicators. One thing that we'll be seeing shortly is equipment procurement time. So this is something I'm interested in. I want to know how long it takes for the equipment to be provided to my employees. And I can basically, again, use the events that are being captured in SAP Cloud Platform Process Visibility, and I can say that I want to measure the equipment procurement time starting with the event equipment requested and ending with equipment received. And on top of that, I want to basically do an average calculation, and then on top of this, I can then define a performance indicator. I can, for example, say I want to represent this in a certain way. In a donut chart, for example, I pick the measure, which we just saw, and I can select a dimension that I want to group the values in. And if I then save and activate this, I get a dashboard such as this. So this is an out-of-the-box experience that I get just by modeling what we just saw. I didn't do any UI5 development or anything. This comes out of the box, and this gives me, for example, if I'm doing what the hiring manager would do, gives me an understanding of what are the onboardings that are currently happening in the company. Now I can see in this case there are 153 people being onboarded. Most of them are on track. Some of them are at risk. This is an aggregate view that you see here, but I can also dive into the details and see individually for each employee where exactly, in what particular phase he is in. So how exactly is the onboarding for this particular employee. I can see some basic information about the person, and then I can see the phase that he is in. So this is exactly what we defined up front. So I can see here, he already joined the company. He's in the phase first 90 days. I can see some details here. And if I want to drill even deeper, I can look at the individual steps that were taken, all the events that happened, and the duration that it took for these events to be reached. So this gives me an understanding on an operational level how the onboardings are actually progressing.
So who would do this? I mean, this is a functional person who's going to set it up, or?
Exactly. A key user, a non-technician could define such a scenario, okay, in the authoring environment that I showed, and then you get such a dashboard out of the box.
And all these screens are Fiori screens? Or?
These are all Fiori screens, yes. Yes. That's right.
But you have not shown the workflow, right? Who do the workflow?
That's true. That's true. We haven't shown the workflow. Yes. I mean, we saw the process variant, which we modeled, and out of that, actually, something I didn't mention. When you activate this, what happens technically is that we translate this into a workflow that then runs on Cloud Platform Workflow, and this is then what the visibility is based on. The process is translated, this high-level business process translated to a workflow, which will be more technical, obviously, and this emits the events that are then captured and used in this process visibility solution. Okay?
This whole thing is in Cloud Platform?
This is all on Cloud Platform, on Cloud Foundry.
So whatever workflow you are setting up, that can only be used on the cloud platform, right? Or let us say
Yes. Well, no, actually, that's not the case. You can actually use this also to observe other workflows. It does not need to be Cloud Platform Workflow. There is a concept called Observed Process, which is basically an abstraction through a public API concept that this service offers. Yeah, so basically, provided that the system you want to monitor, where the process is running, can emit events in a certain structure, and this can be ingested into process visibility, you can also get transparency on processes that run somewhere else. Okay?
You didn't show, is there an opportunity for approvals in these workshop flows today? I know you showed the teams as to who's involved. Can you escalate and route them to different write-up?
Totally. So this is what SAP Cloud Platform is being used for. That's something I did not show here. You know, this is there is a hands-on session where you could get insights into how this is done. It's today that's more of a developer story that that we are having here, but definitely this can all be done. Okay, so let's move on. We saw the live processes dashboard. And now we want to basically build an extension. So we have a process that we configured, and we saw in our dashboard that the equipment procurement time is roughly 16 days. So that's a pretty long time, and we want to see if we can optimize this. So what I do now is basically go to SAP Business Hub. And that's not the live site that we're looking at here. It's an internal version. And what you will find is there is a new content type for live processes. And here I can find my hire to retire scenario. And this gives me, first of all, an understanding of what hire to retire is about. So there is a functional view with these value flows that gives me all the details at a glance on a business level. And then here these individual chevrons, those are then the actual processes that are running. And I can drill down to find out more details about, for example, the recruit new external hires process. And this takes me into a view which we call a software product collaboration diagram, which is a translation of the high-level business process into the SAP solution landscape. So here I can see what SAP products are being used together to realize this hire to retire scenario. And obviously there is success factors involved, EC and recruiting and so forth. And there is an onboarding process here, which is enacted on SAP Cloud Platform Workflow. And here I can see the functional view of this particular onboarding process. This is also what we were looking at in the configuration tool earlier, right? A purely functional view without the technical details. And if I come here and look for details, I will find that there is extensions which are available by SAP, and those I can then basically customize to my needs, right? This ties into the extension story, so I can come here, can look at some details about this equipment provisioning extension, and if this is something I want to do, I can basically take this into the Cloud Platform cockpit, and this is now something that a developer would do, the extension development. He could look at the actual scenario that is provided through this recipe, see the components that are being used, the services that are being used, and then if he's happy with it, he can choose to start the recipe, selecting a Cloud Foundry sub-account and a space, picking the project that he wants to add the extension to, and then finalize this. And the next thing he then basically does is to open the project in Web IDE. And now he will find a project which has the content from the recipe in it, and he can adapt this to his needs, right? So it's basically a starting point, and you can change it to your liking. And here I already opened the equipment provisioning workflow, and you can see how the workflow looks like. So there is steps, for example, first of all, to get the employee details from SuccessFactors, then getting a buddy from SuccessFactors, getting equipment, and then finally some approval about the equipment that you want to assign to this particular employee. And I could now go here and change it, delete steps, add steps. This is all up to me. And when I'm happy with my extension project, I can basically build and deploy this. And once this is there, I basically go back to my process flexibility cockpit and can see that now the extension has been deployed here. The extension is available. I also see there is a new decision, determine equipment. I can have a look at this now. And again, this is a tool which gives you a high-level view of this particular determine equipment decision table. I can see the overall structure of the decision table. As a key user, I will not do huge changes to these to this content. I will maybe change the threshold value or do a little change here and there. But for a business user, this is pretty much all that is required. And that's not yet the final tooling. That's something that we're working on. This will come at a later point, but just so you get the idea. So as a business user, you should be able to configure this content.
So the project is shown in Web ID.
Yes.
So that has workflow, rules, screens, everything, right?
It has workflows, it has forms for showing UIs for user tasks. There is portal content which is attached to it. Rules are actually authored in a different environment. That's something that will have to be factored in, and visibility is yet another environment. But overall, the idea is that these recipes obviously work for all these different services. Okay, and now with that, the extension is live. The last thing for me to do is basically to integrate it into my process variant that I have defined. And so what I do now is basically to go here into my process, and I can see that the extension is now available as an additional step. So now that I have deployed it, and similarly as we did it initially, I can take this and add it to my process variant. And since there is no constraints on this, I can do it at any particular spot. And then again, I save and activate this, and then this is live. And that's overall the experience of configuring business process, having visibility on it, building extensions, plugging all of this together. And now let's look into how the runtime experience would look like. And this is a concept car that I'm showing you. So we want to look at the onboarding process from the perspective of how it would work in combination with SAP Intelligent Business Process Management. That's not the actual SuccessFactors solution that you see here. I want to show how this all will work together in the future. So as the hiring manager, maybe the first thing that I want to do in the morning is figure out if there's any work for me to do. And since we are offering Qualtrics, since we're offering integration into conversational AI, maybe the first thing I want to do is basically talk to Copilot. And here we're basically calling into our services with the process intelligence assistant that we're developing, which is integrated with conversational AI. And this gives me a brief for today. It basically tells me there's 5 tasks on my name that I need to process. And it also tells me that there is probably some issue with a new hire, Alex Flowers, that the equipment will be delayed. And I could come here and, for example, say, show me my tasks. And I see there is, for example, a leave request. So maybe this is something I want to quickly get done. So I might say, approve the second task. And with that, I have already some work done. So the personal leave for Emma Jackson has been approved. Now I want to go back and see what this is all about here with Alex Flowers and the equipment that is delayed. So I'm asking whether the equipment for Alex will arrive on time. And the prediction here is that this will be delayed by 4 days. So that's probably something I should look into. And now I'm going into the onboarding application and look into details for Alex Flowers, and I can see here where the process is. So the equipment needs to be approved. So probably this is something that I can do right away. This takes me into my inbox, and I can see at a glance what the equipment is that was selected, some notebook, and maybe I want to change the cost center here. I approve this, and then it's done. And if I come back, I can see that the task progressed, but this is not all, right? There is still some ad hoc tasks that need to be done. For example, you want to request authorizations for the new employee, and so I again talk to Copilot and ask if Copilot can help me with the roles that are required for Alex. And it's making a proposal based on business rules that are being invoked here, what roles probably are required for this employee and his function and so forth. And I could now choose to create a ticket and have some IT person do this for me. Or I could say here, assign these roles along with additional ones, and then basically Copilot would create the ticket for us. And then the last step, probably a desk is still needed, so I'm getting a proposal to also find a desk for this person. Okay, so here's a new desk. And if I now refresh my process, I can basically see that the process progressed. And this is how we imagine you will be able to interface with our products, with workflow, with inbox, through conversational AI integration. Okay, there is a detailed roadmap session if you want to understand which of these capabilities come when. So again, the services that we were showing, workflow, visibility, and business rules, those are all live and generally available. The other things like process flexibility, integration with Qualtrics, which I wasn't showing here, this will be shown in a lightning talk. These are things that are coming up in the near future. So if you want to get the details, just come and join me in this roadmap session. And with that, let's look into a customer story. The company I want to talk about is Delivery Hero. It's a Germany-based startup in the food delivery business. They operate in more than 40 countries and have close to 300,000 restaurant partners that they work with. And they are really in a very competitive market. So there is a lot of competition, and their challenge was basically to be able to quickly take decisions on where to expand next. So they maybe want to partner with a new food chain, or maybe they want to expand into a new region. And they have subsidiaries which take these decisions autonomously, and at a certain point the CFO decided that he wants to standardize this via a capital expenditure process. At the core, Delivery Hero is using S/4HANA as their ERP backbone, and on top of that they use SAP Cloud Platform with all of the services that we offer here to build a capital expenditure approval process basically. And this is how it looks. So they have, today this is still running on Neo. They are at the moment porting this to Cloud Foundry. They have at the core workflow for automating the actual capital expenditure approval process. They have business rules to basically make this process configurable so that business users can actually go into the rules authoring environment and change some thresholds, for example, or maybe change rules to assign particular users for approval steps, for example. This is all integrated into a portal and using document service for storing content. And then they even have mobile applications that they are developing using the Fury SDK for iOS and Android to have a complete picture. And doing this, implementing this solution, they could actually reduce the cycle time of these capital expenditure processes from 20 days to just 2 days. So it was a huge gain for them, and that they are really happy with this solution. And they are also looking forward to the new things that are coming, conversational AI integration, process visibility, and so forth. Okay, with that, key takeaway that I want you to remember. First of all, SAP Intelligent Business Process Management is a family of services running on Cloud Platform. It allows you to improve your business process productivity by doing 3 things. First of all, allowing you to intelligently automate your processes through workflow, rules, and tasks. Second, to get operational insights via Cloud Platform process visibility. And third, to improve your business process experience by basically leveraging operational insights out of process visibility and combining them with sentiment data from Qualtrics.